So let's talk about leaks and rumors for the upcoming Samsung flagship of early 2020. Of course, it's going to be called the S11, and there's a lot of rumors and speculations already floating around the internet that suggest a whole bunch of different things could be possible for this smartphone. Really quickly, of course, keep in mind again, these are only leaks and rumors about this smartphone, so some of this could be wrong and some of this could be right. I'm assuming a lot of this is actually going to be right just because some stuff already leaked out and we're already close to early 2020, so there's no way some of this could be wrong. But anyway, let's talk about it. First off, it does look like, according to all these rumors and leaks, the S11 is going to come in three different variants. It's going to come in an S11e, an S11, and an S11 Pro, or an S11 Plus, just like this year's with the S10e, the S10, and the S10 Plus. So that's very interesting that Samsung is deciding to give you three different options again, and they're going to make sure that people have different price points for these phones and things like that. And honestly, I'm actually kind of happy for that because that means different people with different price points and things like that will have something to choose from, and you will have different options and things like that when it comes to the S11. Now, first off, it does look like they are going to be much bigger phones than this year. The first phone, the S11e, will start at 6.4 inches. So you can see these phones are getting bigger and bigger. Samsung really does like their big screen displays when it comes to their smartphones. And it looks like the S11 Plus or S11 Pro, whatever they're going to call it, it looks like that phone is going to come in at 6.9 inches. And that's 1 inch away from 7 inches. So you can see these phones are definitely getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So they're going to have three different screen sizes: the 6.4 inches, the 6.7 inches, and the 6.9 inches. Again, these are only rumors and speculations, but I find this very interesting that their flagship phones are just getting bigger and bigger each and every year. And this line may not be for everybody, and I know not everybody likes big screen displays. There's definitely upsides to big screen displays, and there's definitely downside to big screen displays. Overall, I'm not too mad. At least they do give you options here, and sometimes it is nice to have a big screen display, but then again, sometimes it is hard to carry this device around. It's kind of hard to put in your pocket and things like that when the displays get bigger and bigger for these smartphones. Now, the craziest thing for this, apparently, it looks like the S11 Plus will come with 5G connectivity right out the gate if you buy the S11 Plus or Pro version of this smartphone. Now, do I actually believe that's going to be real, and do I think that Samsung will just bundle it in? Because if you remember, this year, 2019, was actually the first year 5G phones were a thing, but there was a catch to the 5G phones this year. It was actually considered a feature, and since it was actually considered like a feature or a pro thing that you can do with your smartphones, you actually had to buy a phone that was specifically 5G. So you actually had to pay a little bit more money if you wanted to buy 5G. And in 2019, it really wasn't worth it to buy a 5G phone unless you really wanted to future-proof your phone. That's really the reason why you decided to go with a 5G phone. But it did cost quite a few more. It did cost quite a little bit more money if you wanted to buy a 5G phone in 2019. And honestly, I don't think a lot of people did. And honestly, I don't think it was really worth it to buy a 5G phone in 2019 unless, like I said, you really wanted to future-proof yourself with a phone with 5G connectivity. That's why you actually went with a phone in 2019 with 5G connectivity. Now, the question is, again, do I think that Samsung is actually going to be putting 5G connectivity standard with the S11 Pro, and it won't be a feature that you have to pay for with a separate phone? Honestly, it's really up in the air, because if you look at 2019 and the state of 5G in 2019, everyone knows that 5G is really finicky in 2019 when it comes to connectivity and when it comes to speeds and things like that. It's very unreliable and very unstable when it comes to 5G speeds, and on top of it being very unreliable and very unstable at the current state of 5G in 2019, you do have to realize not every city does have 5G as well. It's not nationwide in the US, and that's actually a problem. It only means certain states could actually access 5G, and only certain carriers can access 5G at the moment too. So honestly, I'm not quite sure if I believe this. Honestly, if you ask me, they may do it for one reason, just to make sure everyone's future-proofs if they buy the S11 Pro, because like I said, we know 5G is right around the corner, and 5G is either coming probably 2 years away or next year. I don't know how good it'll be next year, but I'm assuming it'll be much better than this year. We'll have to wait and see. But if Samsung does decide to put the S11 Pro, the S11 Pro or the S11 Plus with 5G connectivity right out the gate, and you don't have to pay for it as an extra feature, that would actually be nice, and maybe that'll make a lot of people have a reason to actually buy the S11 Plus or S11 Pro if it does have 5G right out the gate. That would actually be nice. Now, the crazier features are apparently with the S11 Pro or the S11 Plus, they are going to be having way better cameras, of course, and that is to be expected with the phone. That is going to be better than the S10. And now, what are we actually looking at when it comes to camera quality and camera specs and things like that? Well, the rumors actually suggest that we're actually going to get some type of really bizarre, crazy camera with the S11, of course, and we'll most likely have multiple cameras on this. We'll most likely keep the wide angle camera, we'll most likely keep the regular camera, and maybe a telephoto. The crazy thing is, it looks like the sensor on the S11 Plus is going to be the best sensor on all the S11s. It looks like it might have a whopping 108 megapixel sensor on it. Yes, I did say 108 megapixel. Again, these are only rumors and speculations. If they did that, that would be crazy. How much better is it going to be than the actual S10 that's currently on the market? Well, it's actually too hard to tell just because it says 108 megapixel. You will have to take in a lot of different things into regards, like what type of sensor they're using, what type of lens they're using, and things like that to really utilize 108 megapixel. But if they did go with 108 megapixel camera on the back, that actually would be wild. But here's something that's even super wilder than apparently 108 megapixel for the S11 Plus, and apparently the 108 megapixel camera on the back of the S11 was only going to be for the S11 Plus. It wasn't going to be for like the S11e or the regular S11. It was only going to be reserved for the S11 Plus. But the crazier thing is, apparently the S11 Plus is actually going to have a 50x hybrid zoom on it. Yes, you heard me right. 50x hybrid zoom. Honestly, that does blow my mind, but I don't honestly think that's going to happen, because if you look at a lot of the flagship smartphones in 2019 or some of the current gen smartphones on the market right now, telephoto lens are not that great. We only have up to like 2x. Some of them have 3x, maybe 4 or 5 if you get lucky, but most of them stick around the 2x telephoto range. So honestly, I don't think that rumor is actually real, and I don't think you should get super excited about having a super mega zoom on a smartphone lens. But hey, how am I to know anything about that? Because who knows what Samsung is actually cooking up for the next Samsung smartphones. Now the thing is, with the next the Samsung flagship smartphones that are supposed to be coming out next year, we're trying to determine what type of display is going to be on it. Is it going to be a full body display with no punch outs, no cutouts, and things like that? Or are we still going to have some type of camera cutout on the front of the device like the S10? Now, you can either go two ways about this. A lot of rumors and speculations are actually saying that the S11 line is still going to keep that same design from the S10, but they're going to shrink the hole and they're going to give us like a smaller punch out for the camera. And then a lot of rumors and speculations are actually saying no, they're going to actually get rid of the camera punch out on the front altogether, and then they're actually going to give us a camera that's actually going to be under the display. Because if you know anything about smartphone technology, there's been a company in China, I do believe, that has been developing this type of technology where you can actually put the camera under the display. It's just that when that thing was announced, or when they were working on that thing, it wasn't in a very good state, and either the phones have already come out with punch outs on the screen, or this technology was not that great. I think the biggest problem with this camera that's actually under the display for the front facing camera was the fact that it was kind of grainy, and that was a kind of a blurry camera, so you can see it didn't really come through the screen all too well. But I'm assuming they've been working on that technology for quite some time now, and they've been perfecting it and making it much more better, so that when you take the actual picture, it would actually make the picture much more better. But honestly, I don't know what Samsung is going to do for this, because I've seen it go either way. We'll just have to wait and see. And honestly, I can't really go one way or another, because I can see Samsung actually still keeping the punch out on the front, but making it much more smaller, like a little hole. I think like the Note 10. I think the Note 10, the two Note 10s that did come out, still did have a little camera cutout on the front. They were very small, and they were in the middle of the display, unlike the S10 where they were on the right side of the display. And if you bought like the S10 Plus, you did get a fairly big cutout on the front for the camera, and it was very noticeable and things like that. So we'll have to wait. But here is the killer feature that I think Samsung is actually going to do, and I wholeheartedly believe this leak and rumor to actually be true, and I think a lot of people should be excited for this. Now, it looks like from all these rumors and speculations of the upcoming S11 line, it looks like the S11 Plus or S11 Pro is going to have a whopping 5,000 milliamp battery. Do we need a 5,000 milliamp battery? No, I think for most people 5,000 would honestly be overkill. If you look at the current line of the S10, I think the S10s come in at 3,000, 3,000, and then the S10 Plus does come in at a whopping 4,000 milliamp battery for the battery, and that's a pretty amazing battery. 4,000 milliamps is pretty big, but to go from 4,000 milliamps all the way up to 5,000 milliamps would be amazing, would be crazy. And I think this might be the first flagship phone ever to actually go over 4,000 milliamps. So if they did that, that would actually be a very big killer, because the most important thing in, of course, a smartphone or in a phone in general is going to be the battery life. So if somehow Samsung can put a 5,000 milliamp in the S11 Plus, that would absolutely be nutty, and it would actually make a lot of people who own the S10 Plus have buyer's remorse, honestly, because I know 5,000 milliamps would be a dream come true. You would have battery for a very long time. That would absolutely be amazing and things like that. And honestly, I do think they are actually going to put that battery in here, and honestly, I'm very excited if they do put that battery in here. That would be one of the biggest killers in the S11 Plus if they actually come out with a 5,000 milliamp battery. That is going to be amazing. That would be big. That would be crazy. It would make almost a lot of people want to upgrade from the S10. There's just so many reasons why you would want to put a 5,000 milliamp battery in there, and I think that is true. And that pretty much wraps up the speculations and rumors for the S10, for the S11 flagship phones of early 2020 for Samsung. And I think Samsung is going to have a pretty killer phone for early 2020 in their Samsung smartphones. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.